1 hour.
Your comfort is just a call away. Call 1 hour.
Terms and conditions may apply. Call for details. Independently owned and operated. Licensed in the respective state or county.
It is 8:36. Check on the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with Jim Telemonte.
In Elk Grove Village, land buyer remains blocked west of 83 due to a truck into a building. Northbound I-57 is still closed. Has been much of the morning at Sibley due to a major wreck. Traffic forced off there at Sibley or 147th and Harvey due to this collision. Bishop Ford is an alternate. Looks pretty good. It's only about 20 minutes from 8094 to the Ryan. And the Ryan is 30 minutes 95th to downtown. Kennedy O'Hare to downtown, it's 49 minutes, 28 from Montrose, 23 in the Express. Outbound 30 minutes to O'Hare. Eisenhower, 50 minutes, 390 to downtown, 33 from Wolf. The Stevenson is running 56 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. That's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the 1 hour heating and air conditioning weather center, cloudy and 42 today. Snow showers in spots overnight, low 30. More snow in the morning tomorrow, high 33. Partly sunny and 36 at O'Hare. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. Let freedom ring this afternoon at 2 with Sean Hannity on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy, and this is going to be a fun segment. I talked about this piece on my other show, but we haven't spoken to the author yet. 5 psychological forces that turn people into political hacks. You should know them so you can identify them when you experience them.
Okay.
Let's do a bit of an exercise here with Aaron Pomerantz, who is a social psychologist and doctoral candidate at the University of Oklahoma. Here is Whoopi Goldberg. Michael Bloomberg was on The View on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, it was isn't Joy Behar supporting him or somebody?
Yeah, she likes him very much. What interchangeable parts. Michael Bloomberg asked this question by Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, this is how Whoopi, how you conceive of sharing the American dream.
Oh, okay.
Here, listen.
Listen, I'm just trying to say, if you have an American dream, right? You have an American dream. Your grandmother started a ice cream parlor, and then some giant company comes in and sort of eats your mother's or your grandmother's American dream and continues to eat up so much of the real estate that you can't even get your American dream anymore. Do you think it is a good idea for them to say, because we've come in and we've eaten part of your neighborhood, we think your neighborhood should be a shareholder in this company that you are helping to support? Is that a good idea? That's what I'm asking.
They like that. I know I'm blonde, but can you help me?
Then
Who's
of course the
eating
trained
neighbors?
seals in that audience, you're clapping along to that sentimental nonsense. So you have an ice cream parlor. Somebody else opens an ice cream parlor. Theirs is more successful than yours, and that you go out of business. Shouldn't you and everybody else in the neighborhood that has made that ice cream parlor successful then be a shareholder in that ice cream parlor? In other words, the ice cream parlor that's successful has to take everybody on as a shareholder. The other ice cream parlor that they outcompeted, as well as all of their customers. That's Whoopi Goldberg's vision of the American dream. For more on that, we're pleased to be joined by the aforesaid Aaron Pomerantz. He is also a contributor to FEE, which is where I read his piece about the psychological forces that turn people into political hacks, FEE.org. Aaron, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
So in addition to economic illiteracy, what is the psychological force that was most at display in Whoopi Goldberg's question to Mike Bloomberg?
Wow. Okay, so I could easily pick out a couple there. The one that comes the most to mind for me would be I don't call it, it's the name of the theory, construal level theory. There's two levels of thinking, basically, to make it simple, what we would call low construal level and high construal level. And the idea is distance. And this doesn't need to be, importance. It can be very important to you, but it can still be very distant from you. So it can be very abstract. People who don't have kids may still really want kids, but they may not have a really realistic idea of what it's like to have kids. I know this because I'm told this constantly. And, what Whoopi was saying sounds really great in the abstract, but, it's very pie in the sky thinking. There's going to be a lot of just basic problems to implementing that. And how would that look? So anyone who outcompetes anyone, you have to make them shareholders. How's that going to work? How's that going to look? How's that going to operate in really any economic system?
And the idea is
certainly ours.
And the idea is that when you construe something, I have this wonderful idea of what the world should look like. So I'm just going to imagine that we can make it so. And, those details about how you make it so and what the costs and benefits of trying to make it so, well, that's just something for us to, figure out after we all agree that we're going to make it so.
Well, yeah, I think you even saw that in the language she used with the American dream, quote unquote. And there's nothing wrong with having dreams. There's nothing wrong with high construal level thinking. It's great to have those ideals and move towards them. But, you have to have actual plans to realize things, and you have to think how they can go wrong. If you're only ever thinking in terms of that dream, in terms of that abstract, and wouldn't it be nice, nothing's ever going to get done. The problem is that they try to get things done.
And the other psychological factor or force that turns people into political hacks that's at play here too, from your piece, is heuristic thinking, and that's the American dream, right? The mental shortcut.
Yeah, I think that's also quite true. We just think of, this would be the availability heuristic, right? We just think of something and we judge its likelihood based on how easily we can think of it. So, yeah, it's easy to think of that example. Oh, big bad people coming into the neighborhood, gentrification, which can be a problem, obviously. But the sort of policy she's advocating, it's not going to end up helping people, right? It's going to end up with all sorts of unforeseen consequences. And just because it's a nice shortcut doesn't mean it's going to be a good solution.
Let me give you another example to analyze here, just because I want to make this concrete. So this is a local show here in Chicago, Fox affiliate in Chicago. Political editor named Mike Flannery, interviewing two state senators in the wake of another Illinois politician pleading guilty to corruption charges, which happens about every other day. And Flannery, this guy Mike Flannery, asked the state senator named L.G. Sims about this senator that recently pled out to corruption charges. The senator he's talking to is the head of a newly formed ethics commission in state government.
I was very pleased to hear the governor talk. Listen, I'm disgusted and appalled and frankly embarrassed by some of the activities of some of my former colleagues. That's why the commission is so important. We have got to make sure that we are restoring trust in government. We are restoring the trust in us as individual legislators so we can get back to the business of governing, and that's what I want to do.
So those refrigerator magnet sayings, restore trust, get back to governance.
I'd again say that's just kind of high construal level thinking in a lot of ways. These are very abstract notions, and yes, they are very important. But what does that actually look like? How do we actually do this? Oh, we're going to form a commission. Admittedly, I'm not that old, but even I've been around long enough to realize that government commissions don't actually tend to do anything. It's like an internal affairs commission, right? Okay, so they're gonna find themselves guilty. I don't think that's likely. It's using this language of, if we just say the right thing and we sound idealistic enough, it sounds good, but where's the concrete plan? What are you actually going to do to address corruption? Because I mean, with any political problem, right? Everyone admits they're a problem. That's why we all talk about them, no matter what political ideology we hold. But very rarely do we actually hear a concrete plan for how to make them work. And I think that's probably because concrete plans are boring, right? And they're often going to have unfortunate consequences, or at least not be the happiest thing.
Yeah, speaking of plans, how do you break free from political tribalism? You mentioned that in your article.
I think one of the things that we all have to do, I mean, it's easy, and it's not even entirely unfair to easily blame politicians, whether it be Washington, D.C., Chicago. Down here, I think we just blame OKC. Back where I'm from, we blame Trenton or Princeton. But it's always easy to blame those people out there, the politicians, the pundits, what have you. I think what we have to do is kind of be, I mean, it's a truism, but we have to do it. We have to be the change we want to see in the world, as, weird as that sounds, and as Hallmark card-esque as that sounds. You have to kind of monitor yourself. When people are using high construal level rhetoric, which basically defines a campaign promise, no matter who's making it, we have to demand better of our candidates, of our local governments, all the way to the top. We have to govern ourselves and make that resolution that we're not going to fall for this anymore, and we're not going to accept this anymore. And when one person does it, it's tempting to think that that's not going to have any difference or make any difference. But I think that if enough of us make that resolution, you're going to start seeing changes. People are no longer going to fall for this anymore. That would be how I would say it.
And one of the other psychological forces is essentially the ad hominem, the use of name calling to dismiss people with whom you disagree.
Yeah, I think that's a really big one, and it's become really popular, and both sides do it, and I think it's really especially popular online. But I see it bleeding into the real world too, quote unquote real world, and you can't just dismiss people by name calling, because then you're not gonna change anyone's mind just because you called them a socialist, or you called them a fascist, or you called them a Trumpkin, or whatever. Pick your political epithet. There are plenty of them, right? You're not going to change anyone's mind. If anything, you're probably going to make them dig in deeper and keep doing the thing you don't want them to do. If we want to stop tribalism, we have to kind of sit down together, and there's going to be ideological differences that I'm not saying they're going to disappear just because we all treat each other nicely. There's going to be ideology that we need to hash out, and there's going to be differences to hash out. But I think to start that conversation, and I don't think that conversation's happening, to start that conversation, we need to leave that ad hominem behind us and engage with the people around us, and especially the people with whom we disagree, and agree on these core principles of, at the very least, hey, maybe we should talk about low construal level. Maybe we should talk about concrete plans. Maybe we should agree to not use heuristics or mental shortcuts when we make political decisions. And I think that will at least end some of the tribalism. There will still be healthy debate, of course, but there will be a lot less throat grabbing, I would hope, at least.
He is Aaron Pomerantz, social psychologist and doctoral candidate at the University of Oklahoma. He's also one of the hosts of Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Snarkiness, a liberty-oriented interdisciplinary podcast. Aaron, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you racked up more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by, making minimum payments? You should know the credit card companies are tricking you into thinking there's no way out. Credit card companies would rather you didn't know that there are ways you can become debt-free and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. There are debt relief programs that help people like you escape overwhelming credit card debt. National Debt Relief has helped tens of thousands of people just like you reduce more than $500 million of debt. National Debt Relief has helped so many people